A poor waiter helped a rich woman one night and lost everything the next morning. But when the truth surfaced, it wasn't just about him. It was about exposing all of them. It was 2:30 in the morning at a luxury rooftop lounge in Lagos. The place was almost empty. Soft music played in the background, and the night air was warm. Musa, a 28-year-old waiter, had already finished his shift, but he stayed behind to help the kitchen clean up. That's when he noticed her. Adieze, one of the wealthiest women in Nigeria, was wobbling near the marble stairs. Her expensive gold dress was soaked with spilled champagne. Her makeup was smudged, her hair messy. She looked like she had cried, or maybe she was just too drunk to care. Before she could fall, Musa rushed forward and grabbed her arm gently. "Please, Ma," he said softly. "I don't want anything. Let me just get you home safe." She blinked at him slowly, her eyes glossy. "Why are you helping me?" she mumbled. "Everyone else, they want something from me, but you feel different." Musa froze for a second. He knew what this could look like. A poor waiter holding a rich, intoxicated woman. He had seen situations like this turn bad too many times, but he couldn't just walk away. "I'll call a ride," he said, steadying her carefully. As they waited outside by the curb, Adieze leaned against the wall, quiet now. Musa kept his distance, respectful. What he didn't notice was the small security camera above the door, silently recording every moment. Inside the lounge, a shadow moved. Someone was watching them on the monitor, someone who didn't like what they were seeing. Musa had no idea that this one act of kindness, helping a stranger, was going to flip his life upside down. And not everyone watching was happy about it. The next morning, Musa walked into the lounge expecting a normal shift. But something felt off. People avoided his eyes. Whispers followed him like shadows. Then, the floor manager tapped him on the shoulder. "Mr. Okan wants to see you. Now." Musa's heart dropped. He stepped into the cold office. Mr. Okan, the general manager, sat behind the desk with a stiff face. A folder lay open in front of him. "Sit," Mr. Okan said sharply. Musa sat down slowly. "We've received a complaint," Okan began. "It's serious." Musa frowned. "A complaint?" "Yes," Okan said. "It involves your behavior last night with a VIP guest. A woman said you followed her outside, touched her without consent, and acted inappropriately." Musa's chest tightened. "That's not true," he said, voice shaking. "She was drunk. She almost fell. I helped her. That's all. I didn't even touch her except to stop her from falling." Mr. Okan leaned forward. "We don't tolerate predatory behavior here, Musa. This establishment has standards." Musa felt the blood rush from his face. "This is a mistake. The board has already been notified," Okan continued coldly. "Effective immediately, your services are no longer needed." Musa sat frozen. "Fired? For helping someone?" "This is about safety," Okan said flatly. But Musa could hear the unspoken truth in his tone. This wasn't about safety. It was about race, status, power. Musa stood up slowly. "You know I didn't do anything wrong." Okan didn't flinch. "That's not my concern." As Musa walked out of the office, something inside him cracked. It wasn't just the job. It was the way he was treated, like his truth didn't matter. And deep down, he knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a setup. Musa walked through the quiet streets of Surulere, his steps heavy. The rain had stopped, but the cold still clung to his clothes. He held his work shoes in one hand and his pride in the other, broken. When he reached home, the small gate creaked open. Inside their tiny two-bedroom house, the air smelled of fried plantain and kerosene. His mother, Zainab, was just getting ready for her evening cleaning shift. She looked up and froze. "Musa, you're home early." He didn't speak, just dropped into the wooden chair by the table and stared at the floor. Zainab sat across from him. "Talk to me." Musa swallowed. "I lost my job." She paused, searching his face. "Why? Did you do something wrong?" He shook his head. No, I did something right. Zainab leaned back slowly. Tell me. He explained everything. Helping the drunk woman, the lie, the firing, Mr. Okan's cold words. Zainab listened quietly, her face calm, but her eyes burning. After a long silence, she said softly, "Then maybe it's time the truth gets louder than their lies." Musa looked up. She reached for a small notebook from the shelf and slid it toward him. "You've been working there for years. You've seen things, heard things. Write them down, all of it." He hesitated. "What difference would it make?" Zainab placed her hand over his. "Son, I've scrubbed office floors for 20 years, and the only thing that ever changed was when someone finally spoke up. Sometimes the smallest voice can shake the tallest walls." Musa stared at the empty pages. Memories rushed in. The racist comments, the unfair shifts, the silent firings. That night, he opened the notebook, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel powerless. He felt ready. The next day, Musa went out to clear his head. He walked aimlessly through the streets of Victoria Island, still replaying everything in his mind. He hadn't slept. The shame, the anger, it all felt too heavy to carry. He stopped at a small roadside cafe and ordered tea. As he waited, a black SUV pulled up nearby. The door opened, and out stepped Adeze. She looked completely different from the night before. Sober, confident. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore a simple blue blouse and dark trousers. No security, no crowd. She walked straight to Musa's table. "Musa, right?" He stood surprised. "Yes, Ma." She sat without waiting for permission. "I heard what happened," she said. "You got fired." Musa nodded slowly. "Because of you." Adaze's face tightened. "No, that's not true. I didn't accuse you. I praised you. Told them you were the only one who helped me." Musa blinked. "What?" "I sent an email thanking the staff. I even mentioned your name. Someone twisted my words, or flat out lied." Musa's chest tightened. "Then why was I fired?" Adeze looked around, lowered her voice. "That restaurant, something's not right. I've been watching them for months. People disappear. Black staff always pushed out. Promotions only go to certain faces. I needed to be sure before I said anything." She paused. "I think what happened to you wasn't an accident. You were next. And now that I know the truth, I need your help." Musa stared at her. "Help with what?" She leaned in. "Exposing all of it. I have resources, but you know the inside." He didn't reply. She stood up and placed a small card on the table. "Call me, if you're ready." Then she walked away. 2 days later, Musa sat at the back table of a quiet book cafe in Lekki. His hands were tense around his cup of tea. He didn't know what to expect. But at exactly 10 a.m., Adeze walked in. She wore glasses this time, no makeup, hair in a bun. She looked less like a billionaire and more like a regular woman. But her eyes were sharp, focused. She sat across from him and placed a thick brown envelope on the table. "Before I say anything," she began, "you need to know the truth." Musa nodded slowly. "I wasn't really drunk that night," Adeze said. "I played drunk, to see how the staff would react to someone vulnerable." Musa's eyes widened. "You're saying that was a test?" She nodded. "Most of the staff disappeared. Even your manager vanished into his office. You were the only one who didn't run." He leaned back, stunned. "So, I was fired for passing a test?" Adeze opened the envelope. Inside were printed documents, hiring records, shift schedules, staff complaints. "I've been collecting this for 6 months," she said. "Look at the patterns. Every time a black or dark-skinned employee gets promoted or praised, something happens. A transfer, a warning, then suddenly, gone." Musa flipped through the papers. Names he recognized, friends, people who had quietly disappeared. "I want to file a lawsuit," Adeze said. "But I need more proof. I need someone who lived it, someone they trusted." Musa stared at the pages in his hands. Each one felt like a memory that finally made sense. "You want me to spy on them?" "I want you to expose the truth," she replied, "before they bury it again." Musa looked up, breath shaking. For the first time in his life, he felt power. Musa sat on a worn bench in a dusty park near the back of the restaurant. The evening air smelled like fried oil and smoke. He looked at his watch, 6:12 p.m. Kweku arrived 5 minutes later wearing his stained kitchen apron and a nervous look. "You sure no one followed you?" he asked, glancing around. "I'm sure," Musa said calmly. "You said you found something?" Kweku pulled a folded paper from his pocket and handed it over. "Shift logs. Compare them. Black staff always get the worst hours, then suddenly disappeared." Musa scanned the papers, heart racing. It matched what Adaze had shown him. "I'm risking my job, Musa," Kweku whispered. "If they catch me..." Musa looked him in the eye. "And I'll risk everything to make sure none of us stay invisible." That night, Musa made 3 more calls: former staff, old friends, people who had left without explanation. 2 agreed to meet. 1 had even saved an old email where the manager warned him about being too friendly with customers. They all said the same thing. If someone was finally standing up, they'd help. Over the next week, Musa and Kweku built a quiet system. Kweku placed a tiny recorder under the staff table. He copied shift notes, took photos of complaint forms. Musa created a secure folder and backed up everything. The evidence grew quickly: voice recordings of biased comments, emails suggesting staff should be replaced for image, and HR memos with fake infractions written to justify firings. Every file felt like justice finally speaking out. Each risk made them more afraid, but also more certain. Musa looked at the folder one night and whispered to himself, "They tried to erase us quietly." He stared at the screen. Now the whole world is going to hear us. The boardroom in Victoria Island was cool and spotless. Glass walls, polished floors, and leather chairs lined the long table. Investors, directors, and partners of the hospitality group filled the room, waiting. Then Adaze walked in, calm, sharp, focused. Beside her were 2 lawyers and a woman from the company's ethics board. Mr. Okan stood to greet them, wearing a stiff smile. "Good morning, what's this about?" Adaze didn't sit. She placed a thick file on the table and clicked a remote. A projector screen lit up behind her. "We're here to discuss your hiring and firing practices," she said. "Specifically, your treatment of black and dark-skinned employees." Okan chuckled nervously. "Come on, Adaze, we've always maintained high standards." She raised an eyebrow. "You said our staff must look a certain way. I have your voice saying that." The first audio clip played. Okan's voice, clear as day. "Front of house must have the right look. Not everyone fits our image." Silence fell. Okan stood. "This is a witch hunt." "Really?" Adaze replied, clicking again. A video started. It showed Okan in his office laughing, holding a glass of wine. "One more problem solved," he said on camera, just hours after firing Musa. The room went cold. One investor leaned forward. "Is that about Musa?" Adaze nodded. "And there's more. Emails, testimonies, performance reports, all show a pattern of racial bias." Okan looked around, panicking. "This is out of context. You can't prove anything." A second lawyer stood. "Actually, we can. All evidence was collected legally." Okan sank into his chair, face pale. Adaze folded her arms. "You thought no one was watching, but we were. And now, so is everyone else." Before Mr. Okan could speak again, the door opened. Everyone turned. Musa stepped inside, holding a brown box. He walked to the front without hesitation and placed it gently on the table. His old manager's face twisted in disbelief. "You?" Okan gasped. "What are you doing here?" Musa looked around the room from the room, calm but firm. "I was a waiter, yes," he said. "But I also watched, I listened, and I wrote everything down." Okan stood quickly, voice shaking. "You were nothing, just a black waiter. Who do you think you are?" Musa didn't flinch. "And you're just a coward hiding behind fake policies." He opened the box. Inside were printed emails, recordings, photos, statements, proof of years of bias and mistreatment. One board member picked up a report. This is very detailed." Adaze nodded. "Months of work, quiet, careful, because this system punished anyone who spoke out. Okan backed away, his voice cracking. This isn't fair. I've given my life to this company. And destroyed lives along the way, Musa said. Good people, hard workers, all erased because they didn't fit your image. A second board member stood. I've seen enough. Mr. Okan, your actions go against every value this company claims to stand for. An ethics officer added, You're under investigation. Effective immediately, you are suspended without pay. Okan's face crumbled. You can't do this to me. I didn't do this to you, Musa said quietly. You did it to yourself. Security guards appeared at the door. Okan was let out, stunned and defeated. For the first time, Musa stood in the very building that had once crushed him. And he wasn't afraid. He had spoken the truth, and this time the world had listened. 6 weeks later, Musa stood inside a wide, open building in Ibadan. Sunlight poured through tall windows. The air smelled of fresh paint and wood polish. It was quiet, peaceful, a blank canvas ready to become something beautiful. The sign outside read, Anu, the Yoruba word for mercy. This wasn't just a restaurant. It was a second chance. Adeze walked in, wearing jeans and a plain blouse. No guards, no flash, just purpose. She smiled at Musa, who was still staring at the empty space like it was a dream. Still can't believe it's real? She asked. He nodded. Every time I blink, I expect someone to take it away. She stepped closer and handed him a thick folder. Full ownership. Your name, your license, your rules. He took it slowly, heart pounding. I thought you were going to run it. Adeze shook her head. I don't want to run it. I want to fund it. You lived the pain. You understand what this place needs to be. It's your heart I trust. Musa's throat tightened. Feach son bring around to an Anu. He looked around at the walls, the empty kitchen, the soft glow of morning light. Then let's build a place, he whispered, voice cracking, where nobody ever feels invisible again. Adeze smiled. That's exactly what I hoped you'd say. They walked together through the space, planning where the tables would go, where the staff would stand, what kind of food would be served. Musa took notes quickly, already listing names of former workers he wanted to bring back. Anu wasn't about revenge. It was about healing, and for the first time in a long time, Musa didn't feel like a survivor. He felt like a leader. 3 months later, Anu was the most talked-about restaurant in Ibadan. The walls were painted in soft earth tones. The staff wore uniforms designed by local artists. The food blended African and Asian flavors, bold, honest, unforgettable. But what truly made Anu special was the feeling. Everyone, no matter their skin, status, or salary, was treated with respect. On opening day, Musa's mother, Zainab, stood at the front door in a new lace dress. Her hands, once calloused from years of scrubbing floors, now held a bouquet of fresh flowers. She looked at her son with proud, tearful eyes. I scrubbed floors so you wouldn't have to, she whispered. You made sure others don't either. Musa gently kissed her forehead. This is for everyone who was ever told they weren't enough. Guests began to arrive. Families, couples, old friends, and former staff from the place that once broke them. Laughter filled the room. Hope filled the air. Later that evening, Musa stepped outside for a moment of quiet. Across the street, he spotted a man in a faded shirt, handing out flyers near a cheap diner. It was Mr. Okan, his back hunched, his eyes down. No drivers, no power, just a man whose pride had swallowed itself. For a moment, their eyes met. Musa didn't say a word. If come fist if he turned away and walked back inside Anu, smiling softly. Hello. Peace isn't always loud. Sometimes it's simply knowing you didn't become what tried to destroy you. Inside, staff gathered around the kitchen, waiting for Musa's signal to serve the final dish of the night. He raised his hand with a smile. Let's feed them with love. And just like that, a new chapter began, built not from bitterness but from grace. My besties, tell me in the comments what you like most in this story. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot. Take care until next time.